Hi team, here's today's video as promised, brought to you by westcoasteco.com. Okay, there's our logo. Okay, just a few thoughts for the week. Wow, what a week, eh? Bushfires, climate change arguments. I find these climate change debates quite interesting. If you live in an area where your local representative still denies climate change, well, you should seriously think about if you're going to vote for that person again. Now, either he or she is denying 11,000 scientists have made a consensus about climate change. So either they're denying 11,000 scientists plus I don't know how many satellites in the sky are measuring climate and weather and things like that. This is all scientific data. This is not spin or made up fantasy. This is scientific data. I don't know how many satellites up there measure the weather, meteorology, and the weather and climate, but there's a lot of them, including the NASA satellites. Now, all this is based on scientific data. So if you live in an area where your representative still denies climate, you should seriously ask them why. They should have to put up an argument as to why they don't believe the overwhelming consensus about climate. Because if this was any other subject, they would be forced to prove why they don't believe so many facts, so many scientific facts. Anyway, I don't want to get bogged down on talking about that, but just a few things have been in my mind lately. I'm driving around Sydney, I'm looking at the fleet of vehicles on the road, and I tell you, like 99% of these vehicles are obsolete. They're just old looking, the technology on them is old, the manufacturers are bringing out new models, but they still have obsolete technology on these cars. They're polluting. Most of these imported cars, my acquaintances tell me from these countries like Germany that you cannot drive these cars in Germany. They are too polluting. So it's just another example of the climate denial, anti-sustainability network of movement, which is in politics and industry, because Australia is being dumped with all these old cars that still pollute. So you should demand better. You should demand better. You are paying top dollar for these vehicles, and you are getting obsolete technology. You seem to really boast about your economic savvy in areas, but this is just an area where you're blatantly being ripped off. Okay, the auto industry. Okay, now it's been raining in Sydney for the last 2 days, so according to the Australian government, the climate change has been cancelled. But most of this will probably be coastal rain. And I'm making this prediction, okay? You can call me Nostradamus, you can call me a prophet, whatever. But I make this prediction about Sydney. If it rains for more than 5 days straight, you will not be able to drive around Sydney, okay? So you can quote me on that. If you've got any thoughts about any of these things, leave them in the comment section, or if you want to see a topic covered on sustainability or climate, just leave a comment and we'll try to discuss that in the future. The other thing that came to mind is with electric cars, there doesn't seem to be any moving towards a more eco-friendly battery. Africa, from what my research, is starting to wake up. Okay, and a lot of the cobalt in these batteries comes from Africa. Some of these mines where this cobalt is mined has child labor, and some of the biggest companies in the world are being associated with this child labor. I won't mention the names today, but I will mention them in the future about some of these big companies who are using these batteries where child labour is suspected in these African countries, and some of these mines have collapsed and killed children. So that is something that another area where the government needs to get in first and make sure that the manufacturers, the auto industry here, and the technology providers here don't start selling us these batteries or products with these batteries with child labour. So this is just a whole area where the government's anti-sustainability, anti-renewable, anti-innovation, anti-technology area is showing up on the street, on the roads, and in our everyday lives. And we should demand better. Australia traditionally had very strict standards with safety, child labour, things like that. But now it's like an open market. You have multinational brands targeting children, things like that, advertising using children. So like the standards here are really dropping because it's just a money orientated kind of culture that Australia's headed for, and they've let all this safety and everything and standards slip. So that's something that you might have thoughts about and you might want to leave in the comment section as well. The last thing I want to talk about is regards to sustainability, more climate change, is where are the academics in Australia where are the academics not crying out about the climate change argument? Why aren't they getting involved? Have they been muted by the universities? We already know that the universities are a massive cash cow now. That we have so many international students here, and from what I'm told, they pay a way more lot in fees and tuition than Australian students. So the universities have become a gigantic cash cow. But what about some of these academics coming out and talking about climate change? I haven't seen any. There's been a few, like maybe high profile ones, that celebrity kind of academics that go on TV, but where is the consensus? Where is a network of academics talking about climate change? Australia is one of the most vulnerable countries when it comes to climate change because our continent is so dry. So that's just something else, but that's been on my mind. Anyhow, that's all I really want to talk about today. Hope you're well. And remember, West Coast Eco, Green2Stay. Take it easy and make eco fun. Bye.